News 10 First Alert Weather Special, the path to preparedness.
Hello everyone, welcome to the News 10 First Alert Weather Special, Path to Preparedness. Whether you've just moved to mid-Michigan or you've lived here your whole life, you know our weather can change in an instant. From safety on the beach, to the golf course, to your own backyard. We are here to help you get ready for whatever wild weather comes our way this summer.
Michigan is known for some intense storms, often leaving destruction in their path. So what do you do when a tree ends up in your living room? We've got you covered there, and we'll also help you get the best lawn on the block.
And where else can you wear a winter coat and shorts in the same week, sometimes maybe even in the same day? We are here to guide you to safety whether you're on the go or at home base. Our First Alert Weather team has you covered.
In the summer months, our peak tornado season in Michigan will help you lay out an action plan for when that siren sounds. As you may remember, almost 1 year ago, a powerful tornado struck the city of Gaylord in northern Michigan. I recently went back to Gaylord to see how the city is rebuilding. Although they are focused on moving on, the storm is something that the people that live there will never forget. If you've been to Gaylord, this stretch of road probably looks familiar to you. But on May 20th, 2022, an EF3 tornado forever changed the city. But 1 year later, we're starting to see the city come back. The family of Jesse, Nathan, and 5-year-old Kelsey has spent the last year since the tornado putting the pieces of their lives back together.
It's finally becoming a home.
There we go. A home that they moved into just days before Christmas, ending a 6-month stretch of not having a place to call their own.
Can you hear that thing out my window?
The tornado ripped apart their last house. Jesse was home that day with Kelsey when the twister came through.
So I hurried and grabbed her and went into the hallway. That's when it hit our house. All the windows exploded after we got into the hallway.
The damage, unbelievable. Part of the roof collapsed into Kelsey's bedroom and it damaged a family car.
It was pretty scary, but thank God we're alive and nothing bad happened to us.
There you go, Corey.
The tornado that hit Jesse, Nathan, and Kelsey's home was a rare and violent tornado. It packed winds of up to 150 miles per hour and left behind a trail of destruction stretching nearly 18 miles long. And the Gaylord tornado became the first tornado to kill more than one person since the Williamston tornado in 2007.
This was a sizable tornado, and we don't see that many tornadoes of that strength and intensity up here in the northern part of the state.
Jim Kaiser is the meteorologist in charge at the National Weather Service office in Gaylord. He says a tornado like this has never hit the city dead on.
We've been keeping records in Gaylord since about 1950, so you look at a 70-plus year period. Gaylord itself has never been struck directly.
But it did that day, and now a year later, the Gaylord community is roaring back. Businesses are being rebuilt and lives are returning to normal. For Jesse, Nathan, and Kelsey, it's been a journey. The new house they are in was donated to them by Habitat for Humanity, and they credit the community's support for helping them get back on their feet.
I couldn't be more thankful and just appreciative of everything in the community, and it's made us want to obviously help and get back more as well.
The Gaylord tornado happened hundreds of miles away from mid-Michigan, but it does serve as a reminder that severe weather and tornadoes can happen anywhere in the state. And that's important to know because many of us head north during the summer. But do you know what to do if severe weather comes your way and you're on vacation? The simplest thing you can do is know where you are and which county you are in. Did you know that Michigan is home to 83 counties and a warning can be issued in any of these at any time?
And that may seem sort of simple, but I know when I've traveled, I don't always know the county I'm in. And I think a lot of people probably would fall into that, whether they're at a campground or somewhere else where they say, I don't know what county I'm in at the time. So, I mean, at a base level, you should always know the county you're in.
Many smartphone apps, including our very own First Alert Weather app, will geolocate you and will notify you if a warning is issued for where you are.
As long as you have your location turned on, then it can basically, if you're in a box for a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning or a flash flood warning, it's going to give you that alarm.
You can also buy a weather radio, which will give you alerts no matter where you are located. Another important thing to keep in mind is that it can be dangerous to be in a camper while severe weather is happening. If you are camping, try to find a sturdy structure to get inside to ride out the storm.
Sometimes the restrooms can be a good spot. Unfortunately, restrooms at campgrounds can't hold the entire campground. Sometimes there's other community type buildings on campground properties. Those can be good as well. If all else fails, you know, a lot of times you'd be safer in a car or a vehicle than you would certainly like in a tent or something like that.
So when a bad storm moves into mid-Michigan, how does the message get out, especially if you're outdoors? When you hear that sound, you know that severe weather is coming. It's one of the tools used by emergency personnel to warn people of incoming severe weather. But did you know it's only meant for people outside? The sirens are not meant to be heard inside your home, and just because you don't hear them does not mean there is no warning in effect.
Tornado sirens are really just a backup, really. They're a notification if you're outdoors, if you're out in the recreational area. We try to put them around parks or where outdoor venues might be. They are not intended at all to hear them indoors. So if you do, consider yourself lucky.
Ingham County Emergency Management says that sirens are activated in the county when a tornado warning is issued, when a tornado is spotted, and if a severe thunderstorm will bring 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts.
So if it's a strong wind, we don't care if it comes from a tornado or straight line. If it's going to do some significant damage, we will alert using the siren system.
If a tornado warning is issued while school is in session, school officials step into action. We went to Diamondale Elementary School this spring as they conducted a tornado drill.
Excuse me, staff and students, it is time to shelter. We have a tornado warning.
The alert sent out by Diamondale Elementary Principal Shannon Barker. It triggers an immediate response as students fill the hallways.
Moving safely and quietly to their assigned locations around the building. We look at interior walls away from windows and glass. Students bend down and take a crouching position to cover their head and neck and back in case there were extra debris if we were to be hit by a tornado.
In this case, students were not told a drill was going to happen, and it was taking place while students were on recess and at lunch. It was expected to simulate a worst-case scenario.
That's what we practice for, right? For the scary time. Hopefully it doesn't ever have to happen, which is what we, of course, plan for. Always looking to just make sure that everybody knows what to do. Be calm. What do we do in the face of any emergency is be calm. Let's listen to our adults is what we try to convey to our students.
Barker says they practice all types of drills throughout the school year, including fire, lockdown, and tornado drills.
We often think of severe weather as thunderstorms, tornadoes, flooding, but even on the best days, there's weather that creates severe conditions. That's what we're going to be looking at coming up in our special.
This year marks the 70th anniversary of Michigan's worst natural disaster. At 8:30 p.m. June 8, 1953, a violent tornado struck the north side of Flint. 116 people died and more than 800 were injured in the Flint-Beecher tornado. We will be right back.
In our state, we are blessed with countless gorgeous beaches. And on a hot summer day, it certainly is a destination, even from the Lansing area, to come to the shorelines, either Lake Michigan or Lake Huron. But on those sunny days, there's also some danger that is lurking.
Fast flowing water returns off the beaches. This can pull you out and away from the shore. These are called rip currents.
A rip current is a channel of water that is jetting back out into deeper water, into Lake Michigan. It forms in a break in a sandbar where there's a divot basically in the sandbar and water rushes through there. Waves wash up onto the beach, and as that water is making its way back lakeward, it rushes through those channels.
The rip current itself is only part of the problem when swimming on wavy days.
It's a multi-hazard thing that we deal with on Lake Michigan. It's waves themselves, it's rip currents, longshore currents, structural currents. Those four things get people into trouble.
When walking into the water, look for the white water or foamy water. This indicates wave heights are 3 feet or bigger, which can tell you undercurrents are possible that day.
You know, once you start to see white water, that's where your flag needs to go up that there's concern here. You know, because the waves themselves wear you down. In the Great Lakes, our waves come at a period of every 4 seconds. So if you're in the water for 15 minutes, you've been hit by 225 waves. At 4 feet, that is wearing you out.
Many beachgoers overestimate their swimming ability and underestimate the power of the lakes. If you find yourself in a rip current that is pulling you out deeper, remember these 3 words: flip, float, follow. Flip to gain control and save energy. Float with the current and follow a path out. Swim parallel to the beach since it's a narrow rip current. Flags in the summer are at state parks and city beaches telling you that likely conditions for swimming that day. A green flag is a go. A yellow flag means changing conditions and take care. Red means dangerous waves. If you find a double red flag, the double red flag is meaning the water is off limits. You are urged to bring your own safety device, not a blow-up ring, but a life jacket. The saying is, don't just bring it, wear it.
We're really looking at Memorial Day to Labor Day or thereabouts and trying to forecast those big wave days where people get into trouble. We had a day last summer where we lost 4 people in one day in western Lower.
The Michigan landscape is known for the Great Lakes and for trees. Our trees provide cooling shade in the hot and humid summer months and beautiful snow-covered landscapes in the winter. Our trees are also vulnerable to damage from our ever-changing weather. It is estimated that 14 billion trees are growing in Michigan. While they are known for their beauty, they can also be destructive. Consumers Energy estimates that close to a third of all power outages are caused by fallen trees or broken limbs. Tree damage is the leading cause of power outages in our state. Tree damage happens quickly with snow, strong winds, and thunderstorms. Many homeowners are not quite sure who to call for help when dealing with the sudden damage.
My advice would be to call a reputable tree care company. They can help you, direct you to not only with the removal, but contacting utility companies if you have issues with electricity, any of those kinds of things. They have the functions to direct you through the entire process.
Always remember, when a tree comes down on your house or property, think safety first.
One thing I would say is, if you have a tree on the house, if there's a downed electric line, stay far away from it as you can.
Most homeowners insurance covers tree damage from a storm. Check with your insurance agent to find out what your policy includes. When bad weather strikes, con artists aren't far behind.
Consumer investigator Carice Jackman explains how you can spot scammers and avoid a second disaster.
For many across the U.S., the threat of severe storms will rise.
You're like me, you live in Tornado Alley. You can kind of set your clock to something, going wrong, around March. So it's always best to have a plan in place because unfortunately, storms strike quickly and the devastation that is incurred sometimes strikes even quicker.
Josh Planos with the Better Business Bureau says no matter the region you're in, you should have a personal plan for bad weather and the potential aftermath. But along with that plan, Planos says you should prepare to avoid scammers posing as contractors, the federal government, or charities as they try to steal your personal information and money.
Unfortunately, we see folks who are really looking to weaponize everything from lumber to new identification cards and kind of everything in between.
The Federal Communications Commission issued guidelines on staying safe from those posing as legit contractors. If someone calls you about an insurance claim, don't give out any personal information or agree to any payment until you can independently verify that call is legitimate. The FCC also warned contractors may claim to be a partner with your insurance company. They caution to never give policy numbers, coverage details, or other personal information out to companies with whom you have not entered into a contract.
A lot of municipalities require solicitation permits. If salespeople go door to door, should ask for identification. Check their vehicle for a business name, a phone number, a license plate for your state or province. Right, it's a pretty typical giveaway if someone is driving in from out of state.
That was Carice Jackman reporting. Remember, government disaster assistance agencies do not call or text asking for financial account information.
There is no fee required to apply for disaster assistance through the Federal Emergency Management Agency or the Small Business Administration.
And coming up, we venture onto the golf course as we get into the warm weather season, and we're here at Forest Acres on the MSU campus to speak to someone about what you can do in the event of a thunderstorm. The return of warmer weather in mid-Michigan marks the return to outdoor activities, including the golf season. But much like a lag putt on a long birdie, the weather can also take a turn.
I know we think it'll never happen to us probably, but it's always better to err on the side of safety. I don't even like when it's rumbling outside. I'm kind of like a scared dog when that happens.
Brian Harris, PGA professional and general manager for Michigan State's Forest Acres golf courses, was kind enough to bring me out onto the West Course, where he outlined the plan at his facility for when storms move in.
Everybody's off the golf course when lightning's within 10 miles, but we start that process when we see it on the radar, 20, 30, 40 miles, just obviously paying attention to the local weather. Of what the experts are telling us. Staying vigilant on the course for errant shots is always something to be aware of, but poor weather during a round can be just as threatening. We don't want anybody on the property in the event that lightning's in the area, just because lightning can be very dangerous with a metal stick in your hand. Dangerous indeed. Lightning often occurs outside of heavy rain, and the average strike produces more than 300 million volts of electricity, enough to power a small town for a full day, and more than enough to be a problem if it hits you. On our one golf course, the West Golf Course, we have golf carts that can send weather alerts out. And basically what those alerts say is that everybody has to get off the golf course. Our team physically goes out and reminds everybody and pulls everybody off the golf course. And we either take everybody inside our golf shops or they have to go to their vehicles. The National Weather Service recommends that if you are out golfing with no shelter nearby, you should find a low place on the course and stay away from bodies of water or taller trees. We always have a full-time manager on property, so the person that is designated for the manager of that day, that shift, is the responsible one to make sure all the golfers get off, all the staff is safe, and informing everybody that inclement weather's on its way and to, again, make sure they're safe. Even out on the course, the best way to receive updates is on a mobile device. The First Alert Weather app will notify you when lightning is nearby, and it even tells you when rain is moving into the area. All these things are good for you to keep in mind, so the only hazards you have to deal with on the golf course are the ones your ball may end up in.
With spring comes working in the yard. We went to the Hancock Center at Michigan State University to find out how to have the best yard in the neighborhood. The experts at MSU tell us to have the best looking lawn, it all goes back to the basics.
Everything starts with mowing, watering, and fertilizing. And probably the most important one is the one people don't want to talk about, is mowing. Most people, if they approach this correctly, can improve their yard 2x, maybe 3x by just mowing correctly.
And that's taking it up a little bit higher, or?
It can be a little bit higher, but more importantly, probably involves what we call the 1/3 rule, which means don't scalp your grass. Cut about 1/3 of the leaf blade off.
Following the 1/3 rule, you may be cutting the lawn more than once a week. Also, to keep a green lawn all season, it will need about an inch of water a week. Coming up next in our First Alert Weather Special, Path to Preparedness, Andy's Summer Outlook. You don't want to miss it.
When looking ahead to the upcoming seasonal forecast, the main ingredient we look at is the surface water temperatures in the adjoining oceans, the Atlantic and the Pacific, and see how those temperatures, if they're warming or cooling. And out in the Pacific, when looking ahead to the upcoming seasonal forecast, the main ingredient we look at is the surface water temperatures in the adjoining oceans, the Atlantic and the Pacific, and see how those temperatures, if they're warming or cooling. And out in the Pacific, there is warming temperatures taking place, and this affects the weather pattern that is above it. Now, going into this summer, we're seeing that warming, which we call an El Nino. There hasn't been an El Nino around since 2018 and 2019, so all these surface waters get warmer, and that makes it easterly trade winds come in from the east to the west, and they can also go to the west to the east. But what it does do is it affects the hurricane season. It can even affect us into next winter. But how does that affect us going into our summer? Well, the end result is these temperatures are expected to climb through the middle of summertime, and only a couple of degrees warmer than normal out there in the Pacific, and most of the nation will have above average temperatures. Now, we're talking about the 90-day outlook of June, July, and August. That is meteorological summer. It also could mean a slightly wetter conditions for the East Coast at this time. Now, I think our conditions are pretty wet now. It's unlikely we'll keep it wet all through summertime, but I agree that the warmer temperatures will be above normal for us. The wet spring not there, but our temperatures at times will have some hot streaks with that as well, since our summer is expected to be normal or even slightly above normal.
Thank you for joining us for our First Alert Weather Special, Path to Preparedness.
We hope you are feeling more confident about taking on what Michigan summer has in store.
And remember to download our First Alert Weather app for important information right in the palm of your hand. It's free and you can get it in your app store.
If you missed any part of this special or want to see portions again, we will have the stories at WILX.com. On behalf of the First Alert Weather team, thank you for watching and stay safe.